Hello everyone, back tuning into today's first video. We're going to have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days. For today's first video, this will take us into the new year. Day 10 is going to be around New Year's Day. So we'll see what GFS, the ECM and the GM shorter range models are showing for the New Year period. Bring you up to date with all the latest developments in the stratosphere as well. The Sudden Stratospheric Warming is going on as we speak. It's starting across Siberia and it will be moving into the North Pole over the Christmas period. So I'll bring you up to date with all of the latest developments there. For today's video, we're going to start off saying a big thank you to our latest donor. Now, our latest donor would like to stay anonymous, so that person knows who they are. Big thank you to our latest anonymous donor for becoming a donor for Gazworthids. Really something very special that you have done for Gazworthids to help us fund the website. So if you would like to join Anonymous and become a donor for Gazworthids, then all you need to do is come to the Gazworthids paypal.me page, and I'm on that page right now. We link to this at all of the pages at Gazworthids and in the description at YouTube. So just come here, sign into your PayPal account. Most people have one of those these days, and you can give a one-off donation to Gazworthids. It can be any amount of money that you would like, and you'll get a mention in the videos, unless, like our latest anonymous donor, you would rather stay anonymous, and then we'll just do what we've done this time and say big thank you to this anonymous person. So to do that, just leave a little note with your donations. Let us know that's what you'd like to happen. So that's how you can become a donor for Gazworthids. The other way is to become a patron. So this is the Gazworthids patron page. We've got 51 patrons so far. If you would like to become a patron for Gazworthids, then all you need to do is sign up for a Patreon account, and then you can give an ongoing monthly donation to Gazworthids via Patreon. So the idea is that PayPal is kind of like one-off donation, and Patreon is like an ongoing monthly donation where you can cancel it at any time. And by doing this, you're helping us to pay for our website, you're helping us to keep the website online and keep all of the content totally free for everyone. So a big thank you to everybody for becoming patrons and donors for Gazworthids. It's something very special that you have done for Gazworthids. We started this in June, and I wasn't sure what the response would be really when I started, but the response has been absolutely overwhelming and phenomenal. So a big thank you to all of the donors, big thank you to all of the patrons, special thank you to our anonymous donor, and yeah, just something really special that you're doing for Gazworthids to help us keep the content online and completely free. Right, let's get on with the video then. We're going to start off with what's happening at 10 HPA in the North Pole. So, this is the latest from the JMA. The grey line here is the trend line for the time of the year. The black line shows how temperatures at 10 HPA have been performing. We can see we did have a little bit of a warming actually at 10 HPA 2 or 3 days ago. We have now dropped down to a cooler level, so we're cooling the temperature down at 10 HPA. But expect this black line to take off over Christmas. I'm thinking that the black line is going to lift up kind of to that level as we get through towards the Christmas period, Christmas Day, of Boxing Day. We should see this chart looking really quite dramatic indeed. If you go a little bit lower down to 30 HPA, which is closer to the troposphere, that's how things are looking. So quite a warming is going on at 30 HPA already at the moment. I think that's associated with the warming that took place at 10 HPA a couple of days ago. That's filtered down to 30 HPA. So I would expect this will drop a bit over the next 3-4 days. You'll probably see black line dropping down like that, and then again it should start to lift up. Probably won't go as high as it did or as it will at 10 HPA, but it should still look pretty dramatic, I think, in a few days' time. So this is the very latest in terms of the forecast for 10 HPA. This is from a GFS at metroshield.fi. You see that the warming, the sudden stratospheric warming, is taking off now over Siberia. It's a 22nd of December, exactly where this has been modelled for around 2 weeks. Been very, very consistent. And yes, this red area just here over Russia, that is the beginning of the sudden stratospheric warming. That, as I say, it's over Russia right now. It will strengthen and move into the North Pole as we get towards Christmas. Let's run you through. And here we go. Those red colours are deepening over Russia. By Christmas Eve, a very intense sudden stratospheric warming is taking place over Russia, and then we get through to Christmas Day and on through to Boxing Day, and that warming is infiltrating into the North Pole. Once again, we see very dramatic warming taking place of the North Pole, displacing the blue and purple colours. The polar vortex at its roots being displaced down into North America, North Atlantic, and into Europe as well. In the extended range of the GFS run, this is how things are looking. So that displacement of the polar vortex continues. Doesn't look like we're getting a split at the moment, but it's getting very close to it actually by the 7th of January. But it's getting very, very close to a split in the polar vortex. We've got one sort of lobe of blue over here across the northern part of the Atlantic. We've got another one over central parts of Russia, and in between we've got these brighter colours indicating that it is very, very close to a split in the polar vortex there through the first week of January. So we may not get an immediate split of the polar vortex around sort of Christmas, New Year, but we get a little bit further on into January, we may well get a split occurring a week or so after this major warming. As I say, that is really close to splitting the polar vortex there on the 7th of January. Zonal winds are going to go into reverse. That's very well forecast now by the GFS and the CFS as well. So this is from weatheriscool.com. The black line here is the trend line for this time of year. So zonal winds should be at their strongest now. We're already a bit weaker than average with the zonal winds. We're around there. We're underneath the black line, but they're going to get a lot weaker over the next week or so as this sudden stratospheric warming is taking place. So that's 0 just there. That's minus 20 just there. You see all GFS ensemble members and the 4 CFS V2 runs, the 3 pink and the blue line there, all going into negative territory between 0 and minus 20 at 10 HPA over North Pole sometime around the end of December or the start of January. We're at this level, so it does tell us very confidently forecasting with the GFS ensembles and the CFS V2 very confidently forecasting a reversal of the zonal winds. And this red dash line here, that is last year's sudden stratospheric warming. So you see the zonal winds did reverse last year. And that's kind of like the level we're going down to with this sudden stratospheric warming and reversal of the zonal winds as well. So it is comparable, this reversal of the zonal winds that is being forecast by the GFS ensembles and the CFS V2. It is comparable with the reversal of the zonal winds that occurred in February before the beast from the east. ECWF shows that it's all still on course as well. So this is the forecast, temperature forecast for 10 HPA over the North Pole on Christmas Day. Look at all that red that we've got moving into the North Pole from Russia and Siberia. We've got these bright red colours moving into the North Pole. That will, on the JMA chart that we started off with, that will see the black line shooting up to a very high level indeed around Christmas Day as these red colours, the sudden stratospheric warming moves into the North Pole. And then go through to 27th of December. You see those bright red colours then in over top of the pole. The North Pole itself is depicted on these charts helpfully by this black cross just here. The blue colours, cold stratospheric temperatures, and the polar vortex and its roots being displaced down into North America, into the North Atlantic. So we've got North America just here, North Atlantic is just there, and then Europe is over there. So those cold temperatures being pushed out of the pole in the stratosphere, not in the troposphere at this point, in the stratosphere being pushed out of the pole and down into the middle latitudes. Where do we go next? We go to that chart just there. And that's how things look on the 29th of December. So again, major warming of the stratosphere is taking place. I think this is hinting at a split of the polar vortex as well, because we've got one deep blue area just there and another one over there in North America. Preferably to get a proper split, I think you would want the colours in between around here to go a little bit brighter, but it is very close to a split of the polar vortex there, I think, on the 29th of December. That's how things look on New Year's Eve, which is day 10. And again, obviously something very dramatic has happened, because we've got all these orange colours here over the North Pole itself, and then we've got these paler, bluer colours through here, through the mid-latitude. So obviously something very dramatic has taken place by the time we get through to New Year's Eve in terms of the stratosphere over the North Pole. Just beginning to start showing signs of an area of high pressure possibly forming as well over the pole, but it's more over towards the Pacific side of the pole at this point. So again, that is 10 HPA. We haven't got a chance up to go low now, so let's just very quickly flip to 30 HPA, see how things are looking there. So this warming is moving down to 30 HPA as we get through to New Year's Eve. You can see that have got quite a warming now beginning to appear at 30 HPA. That's much closer to the troposphere. That's the boundary level of the atmosphere where weather is taking place, of course. And definite signs that this warming is moving down to 30 HPA by New Year's Eve. So again, that looks quite significant. The zonal winds being forecast to go into reverse by the ECMWF as well. By the way, this is from the University of Berlin website. Not sure if I said that at the start of the video. You can find the link to this in the description at YouTube and also on the links page at Gazzomids. That's where we are right now at 1 HPA. Pretty strong zonal winds, but look at the crash that's going to happen as we get up towards Christmas and New Year, going into a major reversal of the zonal winds at 1 HPA. That's right at the top of the stratosphere. Going a bit lower down to 10 HPA. That's this box just here. Let's just scroll up a little bit. So 10 HPA is, I don't want to go that far up, so 10 HPA is depicted by this box just here, 10 and 30 HPA. The blue line is a temperature at 10 HPA, the red line is a temperature at 30 HPA. You can see that again, that's where we are right now at 10 HPA, so quite strong. We know that from the chart we started off with from the JMA, reasonably strong with the zonal winds, but a reversal on the way. By the time we get through to New Year, the zonal winds at 10 HPA have gone into reverse. Still no sign of the zonal wind at 30 HPA going into reverse. We should wait and see on that. We may well find, as this filters down, as this warming filters down, we may well find that through early January, the zonal wind at 30 HPA goes into reverse, but we will have to wait and see on that. So I mean, it's all still on course. The sudden stratospheric warming has started over Russian Siberia right now. It's going to move into the North Pole at 10 HPA over Christmas. It's going to move down to 30 HPA, lower down, closer to the troposphere by New Year. The zonal winds are going to go into reverse, certainly at 30 HPA. They're going to go into reverse. And the only question is, well, we've got two questions. Will we get a reversal of zonal winds at 30 HPA? And will we split the polar vortex? There's still a little bit of uncertainty about that. And of course, the bigger, wider question is just how much impact this will have on the troposphere, how much impact this will actually have on the weather. So you don't always get a tropospheric response to these sudden stratospheric warmings. And I sort of pointed out yesterday that we had a sudden stratospheric warming at the end of December 2001. And there was no tropospheric response to that. The winter 2001-2002 was actually a very mild winter. We did get a few cold snaps through December 2001, but January and February 2002 were actually very mild, very wet, windy, stormy zonal, sort of classic 1990s winter stuff, even though it's 2002. It was a classic sort of mild winter, that one. After a chillier December, January and February were very mild. And there was no tropospheric response to the sudden stratospheric warming that happened at the end of December 2001. So it just adds a little note of caution that it's not guaranteed we will get blocking and cold weather from this, but it does look pretty decent to me. It does look as though we would be unlucky, I think, not to get any tropospheric response to what's going on here. So we just have to wait and see what happens. Central temperature is coming out very mild for December, so this is provisional from Hadley up to the 21st, up to yesterday. We're sitting at 6.8 for the central temperature, which is 2 degrees above average, so it's going to be a very mild December. I don't see this changing a great deal. It may tick down a little bit through the final week of the month if we generate some frosty nights, maybe some fog. We might see this lowering a little bit, but I think it's going to be above 6 degrees. I think this December is going to be above 6 degrees. So it is going to be a mild or possibly even a very mild December. This is central temperature from Gasworth. So we have the CET right way back to 1659. Every month's CET is now here at Gasworth. So you can see 2018 just here. These are all the CETs that we've had through the year of the 2018, finishing up, of course, with November just there. So December will be placed here. That's going to be at 6 degrees or more, I think. And then the yearly CET will be placed just there. Now, we don't have to go very far back at all for the last time we had exceptionally mild December. So we go to 2016, and that comes out with CET of 6.0. It's going to be around where we are right now, but I think probably to this month, I should say, but I think probably a little bit above that. But look at 2015 standing out like a sore thumb with a December CET of 9.7. That was an extraordinarily warm, I say warm rather than mild, it's extraordinarily warm December back in 2015. It smashed the previous record from 1934 and 1974, held jointly. It smashed it by around 1.5 degrees, so it was an extraordinarily warm month in December 2015. And then before that, most of the Decembers have been mild back to 2010, and there is the December to remember, 2010, standing out like a sore thumb with that extraordinarily cold CET of minus 0.7. That's the first time he had a negative CET for December since 1890. I have to go back to 1890 for the last time he had a negative CET for December. It very nearly beat 1890. 1890 is the coldest December on record in the CET record back to 1659. It very nearly beat that. It's just 0.1 of a degree away from equalising it, 0.2 of a degree away from beating it. So we did almost, very, very, very close. In 2010, it was very close to having the coldest December since 1659. Absolutely extraordinary. And then, of course, December's 2008, 2009, they were both pretty chilly months as well, 3.5 and 3.1. So I had a run of colder Decembers there from 2008 to the December to remember in 2010. But since then, it's generally been mild with the Decembers, to be honest. Going further back, that through the noughties, we get into the 1990s. We had a couple of cold Decembers in the 1990s as well. We have 1995 with a CET of 2.3, 1996 with a CET of 2.9. So they are a couple of cold Decembers that occurred in the middle of the 1990s. And then, of course, we go back into the 1980s. And this is what I want to show you because can we get cold weather after for a mild December? Well, the answer is yes, we can, because we get through to the middle of the 1980s. We've got 1984 there, coming out with a December CT of 5.2. So not as mild as this December will be, but still pretty mild. That's a fairly mild December at 5.2. And of course, we have January and December 1984, but of course, we have January and February 1985, which were cold. January 1985 has CT of 0.8, very cold month. February 1985 also cold at 2.1. Then we've got 1986, and that is a very mild December in 1980. We've got 1985, I should say. So let's get rid of all those red lines. So we've got 1985 just here, and again we see that in 1985 we have a very mild December at 6.3. That probably be close to where we are for this December, I would have thought. 1986, then is a cold winter following that mild December. So you have January 1986 at 3.5, and February 1986 is a severely cold month with a negative CT of minus 1.1. That's the coldest February, I think, since 1963. And then we've got 1987. So again, December 1986 comes out with CT of 6.2. Then we have cold January, very cold January of 1987, 0.8, followed by a pretty cold February and a very cold March as well. So the point is that just because you have a mild December does not mean you can't go on to have perhaps even a very cold January or February. That certainly is a possibility. It's happened before. So this is going to be a very mild December, but it doesn't mean the winter can't get much colder. Of course, if you get a severe winter, you'll have all 3 winter months coming out very cold, and that's what happened in 62, 63. So we have December CT in 1962 coming out at a very cold 1.8. I mean, it just gets even colder as we go through to January and February 1963. Both of those 2 months, January and February 1963, are negative CT months at minus 2.1. Extremely severely cold January, and also minus 0.7 severely cold February as well. So actually that 1986 February CT would be the coldest February then since 1947. February 1986 would be the coldest February since 1947. February 1947 coming out with a CT of minus 1.9, I should say. So anyway, the point is you can get quite a cold winter. You can get cold January, February, even after you've had a mild December. These are the 500 millibar height anomaly flowcharts from Penn State University. We've got the ECMW app here on the top, and the GFS, which we'll have a look in a moment, is on the bottom. 500 millibars, 8,000 feet is an area in the absolute high pressure, low pressure are being moved around by a jet stream running above. Red extrapolates high pressure, blue to low pressure. You can see that the ECM is going for a big ridge of above average heights, a big ridge of high pressure to be centred over the top of the country in the 7 to 10 day time frame. This is getting us to New Year. This is how the GFS is looking as well. It's almost identical in the 7 to 10 day time frame. We've got this big ridge of above average heights over the UK. The flow of the jets going something like that. So high pressure dominates through to the New Year. These are the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles looking at Canterbury today. So the red line here is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Canterbury. Starting off mild, lots of mild weather to come through to Christmas. That's New Year's Day just there. You'll notice, though, in the final sort of stages of the ensemble, there is definitely now a cooling trend beginning to appear. So we have many ensemble members that are dropping through the first week of January. Some are going very cold, including the operational run, which I'll show you in a moment. We've got some members going down to -10 at 850 HPA or lower. There's enough of them going cold to actually lower the ensemble mean, which is the white line. Now, because this is extended range stuff, it's very unreliable, and we still have several ensemble members that are up here in mild or even very mild temperature categories. But definitely it looks like something is happening there within the GEFS. Something is going on through that first week of January that is starting to pull down not only several of the GFS ensemble members, but pull down the ensemble mean as well. Precipitation wise, we've got quite a bit of wet weather coming up tomorrow, and then it goes dry over Christmas up to New Year. Lots of dry weather. Looks like the first week of January is generally quite dry as well, so we're going into a much drier phase. Not a surprise with high pressure being so dominant. Temperature anomalies from the 22nd of December through to the 30th are milder than average for most of Europe, actually. Going to be very mild Christmas coming up for nearly all parts of Europe. Precipitation anomalies also much drier than average. A very dry week coming up from the 22nd to the 30th of December. Here's that GFS 6 o'clock operational run then. It's going to get interesting as we get to the final stages, but we start off on Christmas Day with high pressure dominating the weather, bringing lots of dry and fine conditions. Maybe some frost and fog for northern eastern areas. The mildest temperatures likely to be out in the west. But 24th and final Christmas update will be with you tonight. That's how Boxing Day is looking. Again, high pressure in control for Boxing Day. And in fact, high pressure stays in control really as we run up towards New Year. We do start to pick up this southwesterly wind across the northern part of the country as we get towards the end of the year. This is Sunday the 30th of December. Slightly milder west-southwesterly winds to the north, but still under high pressure down in the south. That's New Year's Day, so it looks generally mild and a little bit showery to the north, mostly dry down in the south. It's a very mild air mass that's being brought in around this high pressure. The question for the south is whether we have an inversion, whether we have frost and fog taking place. We won't know that till close to the time frame. Right, we've got a little bit beyond day 10, so this is Wednesday the 2nd of January, and we're just starting to move that high pressure out into the middle of the Atlantic then, and look what happens. It starts shooting up towards Greenland on the 3rd of January. We pull down this very cold northerly wind on the 4th, and then we go into what looks like it could be setting up quite a prolonged cold spell. That's how we finish up on Monday the 7th of January. Looks like we're generating a Greenland blocking feature there with high pressure moving up towards Greenland with those yellow colours. Notice we're getting this black line here. The black line is the 552 line. We're getting that up into Greenland. That is one of the things we look for to tell us that we're getting a proper blocking feature. And so we're pulling down these very cold northerly and northeasterly winds there by the 7th of January. There's the upper air temperatures there looking very cold, particularly so for northern Europe, but we are putting that cold air down into the UK as well. Is that the first signs of a tropospheric response to the stratospheric warming? There's no way of telling if it is, but again, it's interesting that we're seeing this beginning to appear around the time frame you would expect to start seeing a response to that stratospheric warming. Parallel GFS run has high pressure dominating through Christmas and running up towards New Year as well. We get into the first week of January. That high pressure starting to slip out to our west, but it's not going as far north as the operational GFS takes it. That's how we finish up with the parallel GFS run. Oh, no. So I'm just going to have to pause the video and answer the phone. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. Phone answered, and we'll finish off with the video. So we find that the parallel GFS run finishes up with this area of low pressure sinking down over northern Europe. The high pressure's pulled out into the middle of the Atlantic. It's not getting up to Greenland, but it is a cooler, probably colder even, northwesterly flow that's setting up there by the 7th of January. It looks like something could be starting to happen within the GFS model output for the first week of January. GM looks like that. High pressure in control for Christmas, and this high pressure continues to dominate as we get towards the new year as well. That's how we look at day 10, which is New Year's Day, the first day of 2019, dawns with high pressure in control. Generally quite mild for the northwest. Could be cold with frost and fog for England and Wales. We wouldn't know that until closer to the time. And then the ECMWF, again, high pressure is dominating the weather for Christmas and running up towards the new year as well. In fact, the high pressure strengthens as we get towards new year. We saw it on the high to anomaly flow chart. So that's how things are looking at day 10, which is Tuesday the 1st of January. Again, a big ridge centred over the top of the UK, bringing lots of dry, maybe frosty, foggy conditions. Again, we would need to see the parameters within the atmosphere close to the time frame. Finally, just leave you with the ECMWF postage stamps from the ECM ensembles. This is how things are looking at day 10 with the ECM ensembles, which is, of course, New Year's Day. So we've got 22 members of the ECM ensembles, 51 ensemble members, of course. 22 of them have high pressure, with the operational and control members of the ECM ensembles have high pressure centred over the top of the UK. So the solution we just looked at from the ECMWF operation run is very well supported by the ECM ensembles. The idea is to have high pressure centred over the top of the UK. We have another 16 that have that high pressure just that little bit further north. So still high pressure is very dominant, but it's just a slightly further north, possibly bring down some slightly colder air from an east or northeasterly direction with those 16. And then we have another third team that has high pressure, again, centred over the UK. This time, maybe the centre is a little bit more to the south. And so these ones are probably bringing milder air in across the northern part of the country from the Atlantic. And it's close to the south that we're under the centre of that ridge. So that's kind of like what the GFS is showing by New Year's Day. But high pressure is a little bit further south, allowing milder air to come around the top into northern Britain. And then for the end of the ECM ensembles, these are all the options that are on the table. So this is for 360 hours. It's the 6th of January, 2 weeks away. And we've got 13 ensemble members that have high pressure centred kind of like over and to the east of the UK. So these are quite mild. These are bringing the air in from off the Atlantic. We have another 12 that have high pressure kind of like centred over to the northeast of the country, and these are bringing in a colder easterly flow. Then we've got another 11 that has a high pressure over and maybe a little bit to the northwest of the UK, and these could be bringing some slightly colder air down from the northerly direction perhaps. We've got 9 ensembles, so a real split by the end of the ECM ensembles, real split in what this high pressure is doing. We've got 9 ensemble members that have the high pressure blocking to the north of us, and these are hinting at being northern blocking features getting up towards Greenland. Low pressure underneath it, and so these are bringing in cold air from the east, but also trying to bring milder air up from the south. They could be bringing snow. We've got 5 ensemble members that have high pressure just to the west of the country, and also tying it up towards Greenland as well. So these could be bringing colder air down from a northerly direction. And then we've got just 1 ensemble member that is really unsettled, really unsettled, with 1 ensemble member as low pressure is sitting over the top of the country. So where this high pressure goes through the first week of January, and we know this anyway, where the high pressure goes through the first week of January is going to be really critical as to whether we just keep things mainly dry, fine conditions as we have it over Christmas, or whether we start turning things a lot colder if the high pressure either goes northeast Scandinavia or northwest to Greenland. If it goes in either of those 2 directions, then we will start to bring much colder air into the UK through the early part of January. So we should wait and see on that. Right, that's brought you up to date with all of the developments. It's been an extended video. I hope you found it interesting and informative. We've got the CFS 6 months look ahead coming up around 5 o'clock this evening. That's quite an interesting watch. And we'll have the Christmas update, the 24th and final Christmas update, around 7 o'clock tonight. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.